What's up, everybody? Welcome to Justin Fan Friday on the Established Run NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy and Mike Gallagher from Established Run to talk through this 10-game slate that is injury-riddled. A big injury report to get to today. The lines makers, they don't even want to post odds on how long the show is going to take. So with Fridays, Justin Fan, Justin, how are you doing today? You're on mute, brother.
Doing well. I think we're all at the portion of the season where we're counting down days until the All-Star break, or you can take a little bit of a breather. Already booked the vacation to Hawaii. I'll be on a beach somewhere far away from my computer. So 14 days and counting until we're there.
Mike, how are you feeling? Are you on the countdown train as well?
I'm counting down how many matchups I have left. 5 left till the All-Star break. So yeah, I'm definitely feeling. But yeah, no odds today. It's taken off the board, like Joel Embiid's MVP odds there.
Yeah, you guys are the suckers though, because this is my last show through the All-Star break. So I decided the best way to get out of more work was to plan a wedding and just throw all my money at that. So I paid to make this problem of doing shows go away. So this will be my last show before the All-Star break. You guys will see me on a return when I get back from the All-Star break. The cast of characters with Gary Hartman, Mark Dankenbring, and Justin and Mike will take you through in my absence. But let's get to the games today. Let's start with the Clippers in Detroit. The Clippers, one of the few teams I think we can roll through pretty quickly here. They just have Ivica Zubats listed out here. So I'm going to just roll right through them and go to Detroit, where Detroit has a probable tag on Cade Cunningham. They're also without Isaiah Stewart and Mike Muscala tonight. Mike Muscala started last game in place of Isaiah Stewart. So, Justin, what notes do you have on the Clippers and the Pistons tonight?
Yeah, so back to the Clippers real quick. Want to mention that Paul George has been managing this groin issue for at least a few weeks now. We've seen him consistently be at like 14 first half minutes lately, and I think they want to keep him to like that 28 to 30 minute range if possible. They're 11.5 point favorites today against Detroit. I don't think you're going to see anybody on the Clippers get up to 32 plus minutes just out of necessity game flow. So would it kind of expect George's minutes to be managed again, just both as a result of like growing and results of the possible blowout. So that's the only note I have on the Clippers side. On the Pistons side, Cade Cunningham, pretty full minutes on Wednesday. He played 35 in his return on Saturday, 31 on Wednesday. That 31 was kind of more a result that Monty leaned a little bit more on that bench, even with Isaiah Stewart out. Cade played more than Bojan Bogdanovic, so it was kind of a starter benching. I don't think it was like a minutes limitation thing necessarily. So we saw second half minutes on Wednesday without Mike Muscala, who's out today. Danilo Gallinari got the second half start in his place. We saw a lot of Alec Burks. Alec Burks played the final 15 and a half minutes of the game, closed over Gallinari. It looks like they're really comfortable running like three guard rotation, 3-guard lineup out there. And as a result, it looks like Killian Hayes is out of the rotation completely now, with Alec Burks, Monte Morris, Marcus Sasser rounding out their rotation in the second unit. So a couple other notes. Asar Thompson, really disappointing for him, just 18 minutes on Wednesday, even with Stewart out and Muscala leaving early with that concussion. And yeah, the rotation has kind of been, they started Gallo, subbed him out early. He was the backup center behind Duren. So we'll see kind of what they roll out there again tonight. But expecting a 10-man rotation with Knox, Burks, Asar Thompson, Monte Morris, and Sasser rounding out that second unit.
Yeah, and the standard Monty quote, "I played Alec Burks too much" for the 7th time this season. He said that after this game. He just doesn't care. So yeah, expecting a lot of Alec Burks, taking a lot of upside off Jaden Ivey, who cuts into him with Bojan playing there. We also gave James Wiseman just a couple minutes here, just because if they're going to play Gallo as a forward, they may want to fill some minutes there. So yeah, other than that, yeah, you're right on it. We're exactly in line with you on Paul George. We think 28 to 30, so we had him at 29. Took a minute and a half for blowout, so we got 27.5 minutes on him. But yeah, everything else I'm good with.
Let's move to the Washington and Miami game. On the Miami side of things, they're without Duncan Robinson. Jamal Cain listed questionable due to illness here. And then Orlando Robinson listed available from a G League assignment, which is a little bit suspect. Justin, what are your notes here on the Miami Heat?
Yeah, we've seen Josh Richardson back in the rotation with Duncan Robinson sidelined 24, 27 minutes his last 2 games after a DMPCD. Terry Rozier has kind of been up and down, really struggled so far, mostly in his couple games with the Heat. But keep in mind, he still hasn't had a full practice with the team. They've had 4 games in 6 nights, and they've had off days on Tuesday and Thursday. So I think his first full practice with the team is going to be on Monday. I kind of want to talk about the impact. We just got the Grizzlies injury report. We'll get that in a little bit, but I want to kind of talk about the impact of this Terry Rozier trade. I mean, since he's been on the Heat, he leads the Heat in time of possession so far in the last 5 games. He's second in touches, and it's kind of really had a pretty big impact on Bam Adebayo, especially. His touches. Down like almost 10 a game. His time possession down almost a minute. And it's kind of hurt Tyler Hero as well. So kind of want to talk through that a little bit on what we're kind of expecting from Miami today. Obviously, a good get right spot for everybody against Washington. But what are your general thoughts on like the trickle down effect of Rozier's addition and impact on Hero and Bam specifically?
Yeah, actually, last game they flipped a little bit. Jimmy was the lead handle guy, and he was kind of really pushed down. So this is I was kind of narrative, like running a lot of narrative, like, hey, just let Jimmy kind of snap that losing streak, and they won. They had one of their best offensive games in a while. Certainly, it was against the Kings. But yeah, I think Tyler Hero was we all suspected he was going to kind of get hurt. Definitely the smashiest of smash spots for Bam on a bio here. Could see him kind of heating up. But yeah, he's definitely lost a lot of that dribble handoff game, which again, it's a little bit tied to Duncan Robinson too. I think that having offense to run next to Duncan, they love that little pairing. And then also, you're not running that foundation Hero Bam pick and roll stuff. So yeah, taking away like two of like the Duncan Robinson is a factor. Not having the Hero foundation anymore has hurt him as kind of like a trickle down effect. So yeah, something that I think is pretty sticky from a role standpoint.
Yeah, I would just note on that a lot of like pick and roll ball handling stuff is built on trust and chemistry and timing with the roll man. And that stuff is developed over time, lots of reps. And Terry Rozier hasn't had the opportunity to have a lot of those reps because, as Justin alluded to, there hasn't been practice time for them as well. So my thesis coming into this trade was that early on we were going to see less Terry Rozier ball handling. We're going to have to wait for like a month or two for that to kind of pick up. They seem to have just tried to throw him to the fire. It obviously was not working for them. So I'm interested to see if they pull back on that a little bit more and continue. They could also view a game against the Wizards as, an elongated practice session as well in terms of what the Wizards defense puts out there for you. So I don't know how they're going to handle this, but I'm not surprised that Bam Adebayo, who had a good pick and roll game going with Tyler Hero, a good triple handoff that turned into pick and roll with Duncan Robinson going as well. I'm not surprised that his production has been impacted some by changing the pick and roll ball handler. And I think that over time they will find more rhythm. They will find more consistency with it, but there might be a lull in this 2 to 3 week period. And then I imagine that once we come out of the All-Star break and whatnot, you'll start to see more and more kind of comfort level between those players. But the reason the Heat got Terry Rozier was because he's been effective on ball in pick and roll type situations, and that could shift Tyler Hero to a shooting off ball role that kind of makes sense for everything. So I think they're just trying to like get up to speed as quickly as possible, but then they were losing so much that they decided, hey, maybe we need to adjust here. But it's obviously going to lead to inconsistency among all these players just because there's too many mouths to feed in terms of competing for ball time now.
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple things. If I can just add a couple more things. Richardson, absolute flames. Mike Brown was on the other side of this, and he just could not believe how much Josh Richardson killed him. So he was out of the rotation before Duncan got hurt. Came in there with a bang, So he certainly solidified himself there. And then snub day, the Jimmy Butler All-Star snub season. If you want to get into that narrative too.
I think Jimmy honestly might be relieved that he doesn't have to spend his All-Star break in Indianapolis and go vacation and travel. So I don't think he's mad at all, honestly, that he's not having to spend his break in Indy.
Yeah. On the Washington side of things, you've got Landry Shamet and Jordan Poole listed available here. They'll be without Marvin Bagley and Isaiah Livers, so a little bit thinner in the front court. Mike, I'll start with you on the Washington side. What are your expectations for how Washington looks in the absence of Marvin Bagley tonight?
Yeah, we should get Jordan Poole late scratch post lock, which has been a big. We didn't have any yesterday. I think that snapped like a 6-day streak of like not getting a late scratch. Klay Thompson was not pre lock, but was a late scratch. We've been having so many of them this time of year. So we talked a lot about yesterday PB and J's with Jared Allen only having a PB and J on Wednesday. We're going to talk about a different kind of PB and J, and it's Patrick Baldwin Jr. Expect him to enter the rotation and fill the backup center minutes. Certainly makes Daniel Gafford a little bit safer with a little bit higher floor. Marvin Bagley's been playing really well. Coach Keefe really likes Gafford for the reasons he shouldn't, because he's like a terrible rim protector. So keeping an eye on that. And then matchup, obviously, Miami's a huge 3-point funnel game. We saw them kind of hang as like to a 22nd, 23rd rank. They're jumping up to like 28th, 29th, and worst 3-point defense. So could be a good game for the perimeter players as well. And also should note Miami's zone is spiked. They only ran 5 zone possessions in their 5 previous games before the last 2. And the last 2, they're running like 35 a game. They're like playing straight zone. So, that means that a lot of the shot creators, 3-point guys could have sneaky good games today.
Jimmy is kind of referring to the zone as their base defense now. He had a comment the other day that they play so much zone, to where it's kind of become their default. So great note by Mike there on the zone. We'll note Bilal Coulibaly, 37 minutes in that spot start. Hasn't been that great on a per minute basis, but he's going to play a ton of minutes to close the season. We'll see what the Wizards do at the deadline, but he's going to be locked into a big role the rest of the way, at least minutes wise.
All right, let's shift our attention to Phoenix and Atlanta. On the Phoenix side of things, Bradley Beal listed available here. Bol listed probable. Justin, any notes on the Suns side of things here?
Not too much. Grayson Allen off the injury report, so he'll be back on that starting lineup. Eric Gordon back to his usual reserve role. Don't really have a ton else. Big Nurkic game took advantage of the non-Claxton minutes, just feasted inside. And yeah, it's been the Durant Booker show. I don't really have a ton else to add here, in this spot. Mike, do you?
Just hard doubles. They sent a lot of doubles, and they just really went with Nurk in the non-Claxton minutes. They just fed that dude. So good matchup here. Big rim funnel, bad rebounding team. So I think Nurk's in a pretty good spot. Do love this spot for Devin Booker. I expect Kevin Durant to draw tougher assignments in the form of Jalen Johnson and DeAndre Hunter, who we'll talk about if he goes. So I almost covered Booker. I think this is a huge game for him. You get he made the All-Star team. Hey, I'm going to show, if you want to go that narrative, hey, I made the All-Star team. I'm going to show everyone that, because some people thought he was a little fringy. And should mention too, Western Conference Player of the Month. Devin Booker. That's a pretty big award there. But yes, expect Grayson back. He'll be guarding Trae Young. We'll talk about him in a second. And then they have those 6 guys, starters, Eric Gordon, and then nobody plays. Eubanks has kind of come on though.
Atlanta side, we can get into our first on the addition of the true all-star snubs here when we talk about Trae Young, but they've got questionable tags on DeAndre Hunter, Seth Lundy, and Kobe Buffkin. Kobe Buffkin making his first appearance in some time last time out. Justin, do you buy the snub narrative? What are your notes on DeAndre Hunter here? What are you thinking about the Hawks tonight?
God, I'm lacking. I should have went back and looked at Trae's first game after the All-Star stuff, see if there's anything there. I'm going to go do that actually after we get off the show to see if there's any sort of revenge. But it's become habit for Trae. Average 25 and 11 and get snubbed. It's just an annual tradition at this point. So we'll see. DeAndre Hunter, I think, is the big one here. Their first leg of a back-to-back tonight. So fully expecting Hunter to sit out one of these games. They've been off since Tuesday, and they play next on Monday. So if I had to guess, I think he plays tonight and sits tomorrow, but I don't have a ton of confidence in that. But either way, it looks like he's on a pretty strict ramp up. Only played 16 minutes off the bench in his return. We've really seen the minutes for Sadiq Bey and Jalen Johnson stabilize. Both played 35 minutes on Wednesday despite the return of Hunter. The two that really, took a little off were Bogdanovic and Garrison Matthews. They really kind of, came down a little bit. But yeah, I think Hunter's going to be in this like 15 to 20 minute range for a while now. They're going to be really, really careful with him and probably sit him out of back-to-backs.
Yeah, Hunter was on a teens minute limit in the opener, and shout out to us. We bet it under on Hunter, and despite him launching threes, we were able to hit that one. A couple of nice minutes limit bets from us the last couple of days. We got Darius Garland on one we hit that was really easy. But yeah, the note from Snyder, I don't know if I believe him. He said that now they have Hunter back, they could start to scale down some minutes on. Like, we saw a lot of like 38s, 39s for Trey, DeJounte, Jalen Johnson, even Sadiq Bey was getting up there upper 30s. He said he may try to dial that back. I don't know if I believe him, but they just want to note that. And then, we're way less likely to get a Kongwu Capella overlap where it actually matters. So I think that's something just because they've got more there. And yeah, I love this spot for Trae Young. Going to get Grayson Allen on him. The Suns have been a little bit more vulnerable to perimeter players. They've been protecting the paint a lot more, giving up a lot of threes. So expect those. I expect Trae to actually, if you had to pick, we're going to get to another team that's got some all-star snubs. But if you wanted to rank like all-star snub narrative, I would put him third, and I would put Jimmy fourth for today. So, but we'll get to 1 and 2. I think probably next.
Yeah.
I think so. Let's go to Sacramento and Indiana. On the Sacramento side of things, Sasha Vezenkov questionable with the right ankle sprain. That's the only injury note here. You've got the snub narrative for De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, and you've got a snub plus revenge narrative for Domantas Sabonis. So adjust your models and expectations. Justin Fan, what are your thoughts here on the Kings?
Yeah, narrative ship going crazy today in Sacramento. But yeah, I think Domas definitely number one for me. Domas over Cat would have been my preferred, all-star reserve there. But yeah, I mean, Vezenkov, we kind of treated him as a very soft questionable. He had that 7 to 14 day timetable. I think he's just past the 7 days now. But he's been ramping up. Like, he's been going through some shoot around stuff, been, in the mix. So maybe he gets back in, but I think there's a big role for him, either way in his return. So yeah, this is, I'll let Mike cover the matchup portion of this.
Yeah, A+ matchup here. We know the Indiana Pacers, they let star players go ham. Horrible rim defense, second worst the Wizards past them. They don't help off, so this is full on. Somebody of I was hoping we had a Fox Sabonis dual cover boy, so I could get them both, but we didn't. So I think I like this matchup more for De'Aaron Fox. He's a little bit colder, but just his downhill game, I think, is really going to be a big factor. So I'm just going to go with more matchup and all-star narrative over matchup plus revenge. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of zigging when everyone's zagging. I think Sabonis is the guy you want to go to. And I agree. If you had to rank snubs, I think Sabonis should have got there, man. The guy is just double every night, 20s, triple doubles, like twice a week, it feels like. So yeah, one of these guys is going to go off. I'm sure someone's going to plant them today, whether it's Dink or Gary. And then, yeah, the other note is, oh boy, Malik Monk, he is down incredibly bad here. The minutes are completely gone away. Kevin Huerter is back in a big way. Bad matchup for him. Pacers have the fewest catch and shoot points allowed per game. So it's really hurt. Like, Mike Brown consistently will say, unprompted, what a turnaround it's been for Kevin Huerter. And he mentioned they were like considering for a while to pull him out. This is going back like a few weeks ago when they pulled him out, and they did it, and it revived him. Like, he's been fixed. He's been playing better defense. He's been initiating a little bit more. So, and Harry B also, this, like, all these starter minutes, it's like Tibbs. Mike Brown's going full Tibbs here.
It might be trade showcase season, Mike, with Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter too. That might be a thing. Yeah. But I will also say that there is no rule that you only need to cover boy one person. There is no rule that when we're doing key news to watch, we need to put one person in the spotlight either. I just saw the other day when the Grizzlies had their injury report, we put the entire Grizzlies team picture on there.
I love that.
I'm sure you could find a picture of Domas and De'Aaron Fox together and cover boy them both. Why not both?
I know. But I'm not going to ask anybody do more work. Jackson has to proof my 5,000 to 8,000 word articles. I don't want to ask him to do anything else.
On the Pacers side of the ledger, Tyrese Haliburton questionable, Benedict Mathurin questionable, Jalen Smith, Miles Turner also questionable, as well as the G League guys that they kind of always list questionable here. Second night of back-to-back for the Pacers in a physical game last night in the Garden. Justin, what are your leans here on these Pacer Q tags?
I'm very curious to see where you guys land on Haliburton and if he's going to play tonight in the second leg of back-to-back. I would lean yes. He's listed questionable because he only played 22 minutes last night. He sat out the final 18 minutes of the game. They're pretty strict with his minutes so far, 22 in each of the first 2 games he's been back. So I think he would play tonight and only play the 22 again. but I don't have like a super strong conviction on that. Benedict Mathurin out the first leg of a back-to-back. I think he's probably 50-50. Don't have a ton of intel on his injury, that toe sprain. Wouldn't be surprised if he missed though. But Miles Turner, I think he got added. That's really notable with the sprained ankle. Played yesterday. So like a couple notes here with Miles Turner. He missed a game I think on Sunday. And we saw Jalen Smith slide in, play 30 minutes, go 19 and 10 with 2 blocks. I think he'd be obviously the biggest beneficiary if Miles has to sit. Turner is 3 for 5 playing through Q tags this season, just with a little bit of reference there. So I think it's pretty straightforward where the minutes would go to if Turner misses. The one guy who's been really benefiting off this with Halliburton limited, with Mathurin out yesterday, is Aaron Nesmith. I mean, the last 4 games, 37, 34, 41, 37 minutes. I will note that he is like shooting out of his freaking mind right now. Last 5 games, he's shooting 60% from the field, 54% from 3, which are obviously unsustainable, but the minutes are outrageous. And I don't see any reason why he isn't playing like 34 plus with the potential for 38, in this one as he's shown recently. So Nesmith is on, absolute heater. Siakam would benefit if Halliburton, ends up sitting out. Miles Turner ends up being out, that type of thing. So yeah, I mean, I gotta get some love to Nesmith specifically. Like he's been really good.
Yeah, he's been just killing it. A couple more notes to add to there. Jalen Smith closed over return. I think it's because he tweaked his ankle in the 4th. So injury there yesterday. So it didn't look bad to me, but hey, they didn't put him back out there. Usually guys can play through that. So I think he's got a decent chance to miss. I guess they would start Jalen Smith. Got that Q tag again. He's the hardest working pregame workout man in the business with multiple injuries in warmups. And then, so I don't know how you feel about this. Do you think that this 22-minute is to get him over the 20, to get him over 65 fans? I think it makes why 22? Like, I think that makes sense because he can only miss 3 more because that game he got hurt, he didn't hit 20. So do you think that that's why they got this number?
Yep. That makes total sense.
Yeah. And then, mostly it not seeing overlap with Nemhart as well. See, McConnell got nuked as well. That was quite noteworthy.
One more question too, and Miles Turner got added to the injury report as questionable. Mentioned that Jalen Smith got the start, played 30 minutes on Sunday when Turner missed. Jalen's been dealing with this back thing for a while now. He's consistently popping up as Q. If Turner ends up missing and Jalen is in and starting, where do we kind of feel comfortable with the minutes? Are we kind of scaling him back a little bit with some aggravation risk, maybe he's limited risk, or do you think he's like a full go?
I think it's a full go. They're over the top with their Q tags. We saw this for a while, a couple years. I think they're just listing him as Q just because he's had multiple times where he warms up and gets hurt. Yeah. So this kind of covers their bases. Like, hey, if he gets warms up and gets hurt again, hey, we listed him a Q tag. We'll let you know. So I think he's pretty full, and he's looked good. I thought he, gave pretty good impact last night, and they, again, they played him pretty long stretches. So I think he's pretty full. If he was starting, I'd probably be 26 and a half, 27.
Yeah.
Dink, thoughts? You guys sound about right? Yeah. 27. 26 and a half, I think. Yeah.
I'd probably be higher. It's just the challenge is obviously like how many minutes can Isaiah Jackson actually play without fouling himself out of the game? And then they don't have like, I guess Shibwe, I don't know. They don't have a lot of backup kind of big depth. I guess they've been comfortable playing Jarris Walker. Yeah, but like they could play Jarris Walker if they needed to against the second unit stuff. So yeah, maybe 26, 27 is probably right. But I just don't have a lot of confidence in Isaiah Jackson being able to play a ton of minutes because of his foul rate, because he gets banged up in games too. So that would be my concern. But agree.
They just need to match Domas minutes, right? Because Trey Lyles is big. It's not like a traditional backup big playing like someone with size like Drummond or something, right?
Yeah, no, agree. And totally agree. I would add the Halliburton stuff is about and that's why I think Halliburton plays tonight. Like the whole thing, all the messaging was he came back too early because he wants to be eligible for the Supermax by making All NBA. That he comes back now, he's playing 22 minutes, and it's not even like it's not even staggered where it's like 11 minutes each half. It's like a full first half.
Yeah.
And that sets up like the stage of like, hey, we will eventually ramp him up, but they're certainly not going to do that on a back-to-back. And obviously the whole purpose of what they're doing right now is just to try to, it's a huge difference in money for Tyrese Haliburton. We're talking about $40 million. So I think the team is trying to do the best by their young star, and they're trying to accommodate and try to figure out the best way to kind of navigate through a hamstring injury. That's a challenging situation to navigate.
One small note, and this is kind of off topic, but with this Haliburton minutes limit and the minutes distribution, I think it kind of maybe creates a decent opportunity for you to bet props live, and knowing kind of where those minutes are going to lie. And we're offering like game projections at Underdog, and I'm sure a lot of other places do as well. I think that's kind of an interesting spot when they're so like stuck and he didn't play the final 18 minutes, where those minutes are going to come, and it's not kind of an equal distribution like Dink was saying. I think that, a little bit of an opportunity there potentially. And
then I'll add one more thing. If Turner's out, I'm going to actually ask Jackson to change my matchup cover boy to Sabonis, because the matchup would be insane if Miles Turner's out.
Yep.
All right, Charlotte and Oklahoma City. On the Charlotte side, they're still without Gordon Hayward and Mark Williams. LaMelo Ball also doubtful here. Gallagher, what are your notes on the Hornets?
This team's terrible. Steve Clifford called his team, quote, he called his own team, quote, under-talented. This team's just bad. There's really nothing else to say. Miles Bridges gave it to Caruso a little bit. Much to our chagrin, we had an under on him, got completely smoked. Bryce McGowan, we had an under on him that was too close for comfort. Plays 13 minutes, plays the first 6 minutes of basically each half, and that was a wrap. PJ Washington, took advantage of a great matchup. Matchup is pretty good for him here, with catch and shoot. OKC number 2 allowed there, but we were, I don't know about you, fan, but we were expecting quite confidently they were going to play big, because I think they had to play PJ Washington. But like I said, they basically just had a spot start Bryce, who was out of the rotation anyways. It was very puzzling. That's why a few of us were pretty excited to take this under on him. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. Mega minutes for Miles. Blowout risk is huge here. Cody lost a little bit of ball handling in the last game. Miller continues to get really big shot volume in minutes. But yeah, other than that, thoughts on the starting situation? Do you think they go back to it?
I don't know. I was surprised that McGowan's got the spot start last game, honestly. So I think this spot, I'm just like, I'll be open. Like, there's a lot of uncertainty there. I don't have a lot of confidence projecting what's happening. But we know the minutes are where they're going to go. Like PJ Washington's going to play, mid upper 30s no matter what, whether you start and come off the bench. They're really going to kind of focus their minutes among 5 guys. So it doesn't really matter if it's McGowan's or anybody else, spot starting, Nick Smith Jr., whatever. It's going to be big minutes for PJ Washington. We'll also note that Brandon Miller, I don't know, kind of has like Jordan Clarkson type vibe where the supporting stats aren't there. He's averaging 1.3 stocks per 36, 4.5 rebounds per 36. And since LaMelo's been out, the potentials have only gone up like 1.5. So he needs the shot to fall for him to really deliver on his value. Like, he's very scoring dependent, like his stat line. So just want to kind of acknowledge that and throw that out there. Like, it hasn't been as well-rounded as
little young Andrew Wiggins vibes with the scoring and nothing else.
Yeah.
Thunder side of the equation, they are still without J-Dub, Jalen Williams, Isaiah Joe also listed out for a sternum contusion here. Gallagher, what are your notes on the Thunder?
It's going to be between Aaron Wiggins or Cason Wallace starting there. Other than that, don't have too much to add, as the ESPN schedule stuff's been messy for me today. I don't have too much to add. Obviously, dream matchup for SGA, dream matchup for Chet. Expect one of those guys to kind of go off. Giddey's minutes are definitely more secure here, especially with not too much on-ball defense to worry about. We just literally talked about them not starting a competent NBA guard. Think they probably go Wiggins, but could definitely be Cason. Wiggins is playing great. He's been playing pretty well for a couple weeks here. And then other than that, just like Charlotte's defense is a disaster. And Chet's been great, man, especially on defense. His pick and roll coverage has been fantastic. So I'm curious to see if Chet catches. Wemby's like, so what, about a month ago, Chet was killing Wemby in the Rookie of the Year betting stuff, and now it's flipped. Like, Wemby's killing him because the stats are insane. Thoughts on the starter? Do you think it's Wiggins over Kaysen?
I think it's Wiggins. Yeah, I mean he's played so well and been super efficient lately. He just deserves more minutes. We saw him get the second half start ahead of Kenrick, and I think that makes sense. That tracks that he would get the start. But like Will Knowledge, like 15.5-point spread, so I wouldn't get too crazy here. Giddey, you did mention him, but like 25 minutes for him in this spot when J-Dub was out was really disappointing. So they kind of went a little deeper in the Mičić played really well. Mičić probably played his best game as a NBA player last game. Played, was diamond, doing his juice stuff and being aggressive, getting the basket. And they went to Ousmane Dieng and the second half rotation was 10 players. They cut out Lindy Waters, who played a little bit in the first half. So we'll kind of see. I think the second half rotation maybe kind of what we'll see tonight, against Charlotte.
Yeah, not as much offensive firepower on the Charlotte side, so I think that's what insulates Giddey a little bit more versus MPJ, Jamal Murray, huge issue. So I think that they can just, even without Joker, I thought that was what kind of brought him down a little bit.
Let's go to Golden State and Memphis. On the Golden State side, a pretty full injury report today, still without Chris Paul and Gary Payton. And Moses Moody. You can add Dario Saric, who's listed out with illness, and then a probable tag on Draymond Green for a right knee contusion. So, Warriors team that hasn't been super deep all season long, still battling some depth issues. Justin, what are your notes on the Warriors?
Yeah, Clay back after a 1-game absence means Podziemski back to his reserve role. Notes Dario Saric means more minutes for TJD and Kevon Looney in that front court. And then we'll note that, for a big chunk of the season so far, you could not play Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga together. I mean, it was either one or the other, and it ended up being Wiggins who was getting the short end of the stick a lot of these nights. With Draymond back, that has changed. I mean, that three-man combo, you can play Wiggins and Kuminga together because you have Draymond there now to anchor that defense. So that's been really good for both of them. We've seen Kuminga been on an absolute tear as of late. The minutes are up, the points are up. He's been really aggressive. And, the reports are that he's off any sort of trading block now, given his recent play, which makes sense. So, not a whole lot else to add for the Warriors. I mean, things are really turning around. I mean, you look at Draymond's plus minus and how they fared with him on the court versus off the court since he's been back. It's been dramatic. It's one of the biggest differentials during that span. So he's like far and away their best option at center, not even close.
Yeah, that new starting lineup, obviously super small sample, it is destroying. 130 offensive rating, 93 defensive rating, and I've got my matchups column up here. Kerr he had his longest pressure of the year. He's happy. He loves to see it. And just a random, I know fans have been in this game for years. Talked about Draymond's veteran leadership, and he mentioned Carl Landry and Jermaine O'Neal kind of like guiding young Draymond to be a leader. So dudes naming dudes season for that. But Kuminga's been awesome, man. And I was on this pretty early. Shout to me. I really think that Draymond is going to really help Kuminga take off, and it's been the thing. There's just better. The ball movement so much crisper. We always love Draymond for the jokes and for the defense, but his offensive impact has been huge. Steph Curry's usage rate's been really good. So it's all good in the Warriors land until it's not, but. The vibes are actually pretty good. And, this obviously the Sixers were shorthanded, but they looked like the Warriors. And then that was kind of nice to see. Obviously, they should take care of business against this Grizzlies team. We know that, I don't know. But I'm actually feeling good about the Warriors for a change. Very famous last words, Ito.
Yeah, lots of reasons to feel good about the Warriors. And, man, Draymond, for anybody who has been critical of his impact on – winning and how it would be different with a bad team and all this stuff. I think we're seeing this year, man, like this isn't that great of a team. And he comes back and instantly makes it a pretty darn good team. And that the dude just impacts winning in such a big way. And obviously his career has been elevated by playing with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and those shooters. But what he's doing for Kuminga, a largely non-shooter in terms of getting him cleaner looks and whatnot, has been super impactful as well. So, yeah, shout out to Dre.
This is why they deal with all the headache stuff off the court. Because when he steps on it, he makes this type of impact and difference, right? And the vibes are night and day, because it was like a couple weeks ago, a month ago, when I would have handicapped it, I don't know, like minus 275, that at least one of these guys is getting moved at the deadline. I think they probably stay put. Like Kuminga's off the table. Wiggins is playing a lot better. I think they want to keep Clay around. So man, like just complete 180 over the last couple of weeks since Trey's been back.
Yep.
Let's go to the Memphis side. Always a lot of time to spend on Memphis. They make a trade yesterday, moving Steven Adams for Victor Oladipo, swapping out tags for the rest of the season on the injury report with Houston. So now the injury report is out: Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, Jake LaRavia, John Morant, Victor Oladipo, Marcus Smart, Zaire Williams, doubtful Xavier Tillman, questionable Derrick Rose, and Luke Kennard. So we might get the return of Derrick Rose, Luke Kennard, some ball handling help, which is, much to the chagrin of the Scottie Pippen Jr. lovers out here. But they're, once again, very thin in the front court with a D tag on Xavier Tillman. So, Justin, what are your expectations here on what we see from the Grizzlies tonight?
Pain. It's not going to be great. I mean, they upgraded Rose and Kennard to doubtful in the first leg, which is promising. They're upgraded to questionable second leg. I think there's a good chance at least one of them is back tonight. That would be bad for Scottie Pippen, Jacob Gilyard, a little bit of John Conchar as well, taking off some minutes ceiling from those guys. Like you mentioned, they are still really thin in that front court. So should be a lot of Aldama, Jaren, Gigi Jackson still. We saw Jameson was the straight backup 5 to Jaren yesterday in the first leg. I don't really have a ton else to add here. I think, thankful that the Grizzlies decided to list Xavier Tillman doubtful hours before the game.
Late scratch season.
The first quarter this time.
Late scratch, man. Again, every day. So yeah, that was rough. We were a little behind the curtain. We were very close to taking a Santi Aldama under, and we are quite glad that we didn't because picked up all the minutes there. We got very lucky on a Scottie Pippen over 9.5. Cash it. With that, when we didn't hit our minutes, he didn't play. He played like to start each of the first and the third, and then like a little bit of a pocket, and that was it. So he was pretty light, and I thought he played pretty well. I was curious if it was because of Garland, because they like put him on Garland, and Garland's minutes were capped. So I'm not sure if that was why. It wasn't like a matching situation because there were minutes in the fourth when Garland was out there and Scottie wasn't. So I was trying to think through that.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, we'll see about Kennard. I think you kind of laid it all out there. And then random note, Trey Jemison had a nice little hook shot. Like that was, pretty hilarious to see.
The Captain Hook 2.0, who's the original guy played for the Thunder, right?
Xavier Williams.
Xavier, yeah.
Xavier Simpson. Xavier Simpson, I think it is.
Yeah, Xavier.
I think it's Simpson, not Williams. There's too many Williams in the Grizzlies.
Yeah, it's Simpson. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move to New Orleans and San Antonio. On the New Orleans side of things, Herb Jones, Larry Nance Jr., Zion Williamson, all questionable here. Good news, though, Cody Zeller is still available with the face mask listing on the injury report. Justin, what are your looks on these questionable tags for the Pelicans tonight?
Yeah, so Zion and Herb both went through parts of practice on Thursday. We saw them both sit out Wednesday's game. I think I'd probably say both are like 55, 60% to play. I don't have a ton of confidence, though, in conviction. We've seen Zion miss 2 of the last 4 with this bone contusion in his foot. So, we saw the lineup, last game. Dyson Daniels was in there. Trey Murphy was in there and really solidified the minutes of Valanciunas, who played 32. Larry Nance Jr. is questionable as well, so we'll note that. Would think that if Nance Jr. misses, the minutes will go either to JRE or Cody Zeller, but Valanciunas will play a lot either way in that situation. So really good for him. Trey Murphy will mention he seems capped with his minutes either way. He hasn't exceeded 28 minutes in a game since December 26th. So it's been over a month now. So we only played 27 and a half in that spot start. So we'll kind of keep him around that 26 to 28 minute range, even if they kind of run it back and those two are out again tonight.
Yeah, pretty much laid it all out there. I was a little bit surprised that Zion, the second leg, that one game where he missed the first one, had imaging that day, and then he played the next game. I was pretty surprised by that. So little discouraging, but yeah, I don't have a great read. I think they're likely given the context of the practice stuff. And we'll know. Yeah. I think it only took 3. I think in last game, it only took 3 questions to find out if Zion and Herb are playing. So Pelicans beat's getting a little bit better.
Spurs side of things, they've got a questionable tag on Zach Collins and Keldon Johnson here. Justin, what are your notes on the Spurs?
Yeah, so it sounds like Keldon's that elbow laceration is pretty gnarly. He needed stitches. He's still dealing with soreness, and apparently the elbow is really swollen right now to where he can't even fully extend his arm. So he looks pretty doubtful to go tonight. The report is like Zach Collins is likely to play and return. So he'll knock out Dominic Barlow as that backup center behind Victor Wembanyama. So we're expecting a 5-man bench unit of Zach Collins, Jetty Osman, Malachi Branham in for Keldon Johnson, Blake Wesley, and Doug McDermott. We've seen, last game, Jeremy Sohan and Devin Vassell seen uptick in their usage. Sohan up to 25% and Vassell up to 28%. Obviously Keldon's a really big missing piece in that second unit. So we saw Doug McDermott and Blake Wesley, see usage from spikes in that second unit, though they don't really play enough to be relevant in this spot. I think it's just kind of the Victor Wembanyama show. And then, Vassell and Sohan kind of slotting in as that 2 and 3 for this team. So not a whole lot else. I think it's helpful that we have some pretty solid leans on Keldon and Zach Collins at the moment, despite their Q tags.
Yeah, Jeff McDonald, one of the most legit beats, giving that information for us. So definitely good leaning in that. We took Keldon out of our projections, as you guys tweeted too. Vassell's matchup a little bit tied to Herb. Wemby's minutes are locked and loaded. He's hitting 30 now. Could go over it a little bit. Maybe we see 32 if this game's close. This is I didn't take my own advice. I was like, hey, Orlando attacks the basket more than almost anybody in the league. Wemby's going to block a bunch of shots, blocks 5. I got to listen to myself there. But if Herb's in, I actually like it a little bit more for Wemby. It's more of a path of least resistance. Pelicans been a little bit worse inside. And should also note on top of the second unit, Champagny didn't benefit at all. The guy, they just don't want to play him. They just play him with the starters and get him out of there. And it's kind of it. So.
Yeah, one other name, you guys mentioned Vassell and Sohan as guys that benefit a bunch. I think Trey Jones also benefits a decent bit. You saw his minutes get up to 35 there. I think that's in part because, Sohan doesn't have to compete for any sort of ball handling stuff with Keldon there. And they need more usage and more ability to kind of generate shots. And I don't know how much they trust Blake Wesley to do that in bulk yet. So we'll see if that sticks. It's obviously like Vassell and Sohan are the number 1 and 2 beneficiaries of Keldon, but I think Trey Jones might be a third there. Let's move to Orlando.
Also playing a lot. Mention him real quick.
Yep. Let's move to Orlando and Minnesota. On the Orlando side of things, Gary Harris is probable. So we'll have to mix him back into an already crowded rotation. Justin, what are your notes here on Orlando?
Not too much. I think we kind of cover it. Mike, do you have anything to add on Orlando specifically?
No, just the starting lineup's been really good. Among the top 15 lineups in minutes, they have the best defensive rating at 100.0. I used to use 100 minutes, and one lineup actually passed them for best defensive rating. You're never going to guess which one it is. It's the current Bulls lineup with Ayo. They've been the best defensive lineup with 100 minutes. So shout out to Ayo, I guess. He killed us on the under. But yeah, I don't have much else to add. Powell getting a tough matchup here. I would expect Jaden McDaniels to guard him. It's gonna be interesting how it shakes out there.
Does Anthony Black go away here?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think he'd be the leading guy to get kicked out with Gary Harris back. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, Minnesota side of things. We might not get this All-Star snub game because Rudy Gobert is listed questionable with left ankle sprain. Only notable player on the injury report here would be the All-Star snub spot for Rudy Gobert, in a spot, as Gallagher just alluded, would have a lot of drives at the rim. Would seem like a decent spot for Rudy Gobert to kind of show out here. But Justin, what are your thoughts on his availability tonight?
Yeah, not a whole lot of detail, but same day add, same day downgrade. Not exactly the best sign. He's only missed 1 game this season, I believe, and that 1 game went to overtime. We saw Kyle Anderson get the start in his place. Kyle Anderson played 32 minutes, but Naz Reid played a big role off the bench, 33 minutes. We'll also note that game, Jaden McDaniels got into some foul trouble, only played 23 minutes. So we'll provide some context of the box score. But yeah, Naz Reid obviously the biggest beneficiary here if Gobert has to sit. I mean, he's a monster per game producer off the bench, and obviously their defense as a whole takes a bit of a hit without Rudy Gobert, their anchor. It frees up a little bit more Cat as well. Got up to 40 minutes in that game without Gobert. So in regulation.
Yeah, it would make a much better matchup for Wendell Carter Jr. And also a much better matchup for Franz Wagner, taking away the Gobert rim protection aspect. Still think Powell, regardless, is going to get Jaden, so wouldn't like the matchup on him. But yeah, other than that, you kind of nailed it. Think Nas is going to be pretty sneaky here. And again, not a lot of this is kind of the Ant show for me. I think that the Magic don't give up outside threes. So if Ant gets cooking and can cook Jalen Suggs, which a lot of people have at times, could be a pretty big hey, now he's an all-star Ant kind of game.
Let's move to Houston and Toronto. On the Toronto side, RJ Barrett listed questionable here, as is Jakob Poeltl, both with left leg related issues there. Without Jonte Porter, and Emmanuel Quickley is also listed questionable with a right quad contusion. So the Q tags on the former Knicks and Jakob Poeltl here. Justin, what's your read on the Raptors tonight?
Yeah, so I think we had some decent leans on these Raptors guys. We saw Emmanuel Quickley and Jakob Poeltl were full participants in practice on Thursday. RJ Barrett did not take any contact. So of those three Q tags, I think Quickley and Poeltl go, and RJ is probably still out for another game. So we have the projected lineup being Quickley, Brown, Trent. Hold on. Quickley,
Scotty
Brown.
Poeltl.
Yeah, Quickley. I had Barrett in there instead of Scott. So Quickley, Brown, Trent, Scotty Poeltl, and their bench being Schroeder, Thaddeus Young, Jordan Nwora, Grady Dick, and Chris Boucher. So that's kind of where we're at with that, and kind of curious to see the roles of Grady Dick and Chris Boucher. Like, do you think when they're at full strength, like who gets cut out of those two? Boucher has been in rotation. We've seen Grady Dick be in and out. But who's the 10th guy in that rotation when, assuming when all these guys are back healthy?
Chris and I were doing minutes. We wanted to take Boucher out. We wanted to give him a 0.
I did too.
I think the war. Yeah.
We thought
it's just so clear that he's. We saw. I always go back to this. That game Pascal Siakam missed, like the last game he missed as a Raptor, and we saw Jonte get 3 fouls, and then they brought Boucher in. Like he's so down bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They'll trade him for a song. So we don't take stands like that with projections, but if we didn't have that don't take a stand rule, we would project Boucher out. I think he's just out of it. Just the New Orleans has been too good.
And we're expecting Poeltl to slot back in the starting lineup ahead of Thad, right?
Yeah. Despite Thad was freaking great in this Bulls game, one of arguably their best player. Especially late in the game. Gary Trent got them going early. Shout out to Sam for the Trent flag plant. But and then I expect a minutes limit on Poeltl. I agree with you. We have Barrett in for projections. I really want to take him out. No contact yet. No, who's gonna go out and play a game after no contact? So, I don't know. I feel like he's gonna be a pretty good bet to miss. Should mention Bruce Brown's minutes have been really solid as well. So these guys out, but it'll come back with guys back though.
Houston side of things, Alperen Sengun listed questionable here. Tari Eason listed out. I find it funny that the injury report is listing Steven Adams is out due to trade pending. Yeah, that's the reason Steven Adams is out tonight. So Sengun questionable illness tag, hasn't missed a game this year, I believe. So we haven't seen him on the injury report a ton. Justin, questionable illness tag. Those have been tricky this year. What are your thoughts here?
He was present at shoot around. It was unclear what he did at shoot around. Didn't get any detail, but that's obviously a really good sign. Like you said, has not missed a game this season. So I think probably 60%, 65% would be my guess right now for him to go. We've seen them be very comfortable playing Uncle Jeff. Match his minutes with his age. At times maybe exceed it. Obviously, we see Jabari Smith Jr. play some center, where he's really thrived at the pass, but I think Sengun goes. Maybe we take a little bit off the minute ceiling here if he's limited in any way with the illness, but I think that's the only thing I can think of. Fred VanVleet will mention a revenge spot, first time he's playing Toronto tonight. So another narrative to add to the many that we've covered so far on the show.
And then the other things to add, matchups awesome for Şengün. Raptors do not rebound, pretty bad interior defense. So I think Şengün, if he's fully ready to go, could be, and also all-star stuff narrative there with him. He was in the discussion. And then should mention Cam Whitmore's finding minutes, and he's taking away from players who are cold. And that player was Jabari Smith. He was cold from three, and they kind of yanked him. So I think they're going to need him for Scotty. So I think the minute stealing is really strong. So, and we've seen the Rockets offense really struggle. It's because their 3-point shooting's really bad in the last, I think, month or so. They're dead last in 3-point percentage. And the Pelicans were leaning all the way into that. They were leaving guys open left and right. Rockets couldn't hit anything. Curious to see if Toronto has a similar approach of just leaving dudes. Darko's pretty matchup, or like he kind of knows the scouting report and like knows where the weaknesses are. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, they pinch in a little bit more in Şengün to leave some shooters open, just to see, make them prove it that they could actually hit shots.
We'll just note on the Raptors rebounding stuff, and perhaps this is tied to Siakam trade as well, but with Poeltl this season, 50.7% rebounding percentage, that would be about 12th in the league. Without Poeltl, 47% rebounding percentage, that would be like bottom 3 in the league. So it's been really heavily influenced of late by the absence of Jakob Poeltl. They're also without Pascal Siakam. They've gotten smaller on the whole just generally, so it might kind of carry over even with Poeltl's return, especially if there's limited minutes. But that's been a split that I've been paying attention to from the props perspective and rebound side. They've really struggled to rebound the ball without Jakob Poeltl around. Let's move to Portland and Denver. Last game of the night to cover on the Portland side of things. Shaedon Sharpe listed out here, as is Moses Brown and Robert Williams. And then you got a questionable tag on Ryan Rupert for a G League assignment. Mike, any notes on the Blazers here?
Just a great win of the year, like hands down. Game comes in there, gets all the love, and they hang a thrilling win. 11-point dogs. I wanted to bet money line. I couldn't do it. But, not much to say. Amp struggled early, but came up late, had a big shot late in the game. Malcolm Brogdon's minutes have been massive. Scoot, tremendous first half. A lot of quotes from Billups on him, saying how they wanted to get downhill. We're seeing the usage come up a little bit. So we're starting to see Scoot. We called him like the worst player in the league for, the first 2-3 weeks. He's kind of really grown into the player that we thought he'd be with his attacking and handles. And then Ayton's playing well, man. The minutes have been very strong. His post games looked a little bit better. His defense is decent. Certainly matters a little bit here, which we'll get to on the other side. And then the last note, Jabari Walker got cut, and he got cut down for Tumani Kamara. Excuse me. They put Tumani on Dame like all over him. So that's kind of why Walker got cut. I think it's kind of a one-off there.
Yeah, I think the Scoot panic was, a little bit.
Nobody was panicked though. Nobody was panicked.
We were just like, yeah, but I'm seeing like lists where people are for sure would rather have Brandon Miller, rather than Scoot. I'd still take Scoot if I'm starting a team. I think Brandon Miller makes a ton of sense. You have LaMelo, and want to pair someone with him. But I think Scoot's really starting to turn things around. We've seen the assist to turnover ratio improve. He's playing a lot better. 19-year-old are learning the toughest position there is. It's going to take some time. We see Anthony Edwards, his rookie year was really, really bad, and people were kind of really down on him and talking him down, and obviously where he is now. So still like the Scoot trajectory quite a bit. We'll say that same old Bucks. Turns out it wasn't the coach. It wasn't Budenholzer. It wasn't Adrian Griffin. Imagine thinking Doc Rivers is the answer. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I know the TNT guys talked about this yesterday, but it'd be hilarious if Doc coaches the East All-Stars and he goes like 1-3 or something, because Missoula can't coach him again. It's crazy.
Did you see them inbound to Giannis late? And then even worse was Doc trying to explain it away during the post-game presser. Yeah. My goodness, what are we doing here?
Not in mid-season form.
I will just note on the Jabari Walker stuff, because Mike is a huge Jabari Walker bull. I will just note in 13 games that they've had DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons available, Jabari Walker's averaged 20 minutes per game. So I realized that Kamara as a defensive option was the main culprit in this one, but there's a lot of games that he just hasn't had huge minutes with those guys available, in part because he was playing a lot of center earlier in the year, and now he's playing some forward, and they're trying to cover those minutes by having like Jeremy Grant slide down. There's just a lot of different ways you can lose minutes when Ayton's available. And that's the big thing for Jabari Walker that I'd be pretty careful, because they seem to want to play Duop Reith a little bit, and Jabari Walker's not getting any minutes at the center spot right now. So he's only getting them basically as a 4, which is pretty tricky to have a minutes floor on him. On to Denver side of things, Nikola Jokic questionable with lower back pain, missed the last game. Jamal Murray, another of the all-star snub variety, left knee contusion probable here. Peyton Watson also probable with a left knee contusion. Mike, what are your notes on the Nuggets tonight?
Yeah, Joker got ruled out early last time. Again, this is not a new injury. He's had injuries with the back previously, so don't have a great read on it. I don't know if I missed anything when I took Brody to the vet today. He's got an ear infection. He's going to be okay. He's sleeping. Not surprised. You and I, we were kind of on this a little bit, talking about Peyton Watson starting for him for the matchup. A little different here. I think they would go a little bit bigger for the Ayton stuff. But I thought that lineup looked pretty good overall. Obviously, if Peyton's limited, so don't feel as confident they would go that route. But Van, do you have a read on Joker? I didn't see anything.
No comments really. That it's Portland at home makes me feel like they might exercise some caution here. So I think Jokic is probably true 50-50. And like you said, it is actually an injury. I don't think it was rest or anything like that. So I think he's either way, though. I think Jamal Murray might have been in your running for cover boy. I think this is an amazing spot.
He was
for
in
him.
the running. Yeah,
especially if Jokic is out, he's going to get a lot of Anthony Simons, I would imagine. And the way you would kind of attack this Blazers defense, I think Jamal is clearly the guy who would fit that mold and would benefit the most. So really interested in Jamal Murray tonight.
100%.
On the Jokic stuff, it's obviously a legitimate injury. You don't want him to miss the games against OKC if you can't, if you can afford not to. We'll just note that their schedule has built in. They have 2 home games consecutively against Portland here tonight and then on Sunday, and then they have 3 days off. They don't play again until next Thursday at the Lakers. So if they wanted to basically say like, look, we want to give Jokic, that would be essentially like 10 days off.
Yeah.
They could do that with it just being the 1 game against OKC and then 2 games against Portland.
Yeah.
So I think he'll play if he's feeling good enough. I think that's just been Jokic's mentality, but this is from a scheduling standpoint, they've got a nice little buffer here, and then you have 3 games in like 5 days, and then basically all-star break. So it's not a bad time to be dealing with an injury that requires some maintenance just generally. All right. Sad way for me to end talking about a Jokic injury before I go out for a few weeks here. As always, if you are going to support our show, the best way to do it is to support the people who support us. So check out all things over at Underdog Fantasy. A lot of great daily game snake drafts for the NBA. Best ball for all contests. I mean, my God, the NFL season hasn't even ended, and there are best ball contests for next NFL season. This is really outrageous. I know the NFL projections guys and our team are furious, just absolutely furious at Underdog for releasing contests this early. They just thought they were going to get a chance to catch their breath, and here come the big board drafts. So, Justin, what else is going on at Underdog these days?
Yeah, I've already fired up some admin big board drafts, gotten some Marvin Harrison Jr., looking at these rookies already. We're out there in the NFL streets already, so never too early. I'm sure, Dink wedding season probably won't be hitting a lot of those drafts yet.
No.
But, they're there for you if you want, if you want to dip your toes in. But, a lot of great stuff going on, and, excited to keep it rolling.
Can I shout myself out real quick? I only drafted 6 gauntlet teams, and I got 1/3 of the championship, and it's somewhat live. I got a little Mahomes, little Pacheco, little McCaffrey, Kelsey, and then I need Juwan Jennings to catch a bomb, and then maybe your boy can take this thing down. But hey, I made it. And 1 out of 6, we'll take it. So shout Underdog.
Yeah, good luck to anybody in those playoff basketball contests. I think you're going to need 7 or 8 players live to have a chance to win, because KC San Francisco is pretty easy to build this year. So.
For sure.
Yeah. I advanced the team to our playoff best ball tournament, and I had 0 players from the Niners and the Chiefs, which was great. It was just everybody the standings, I just 0. That was fun.
Love to see it. The playoff best ball contest and NBA playoff best ball is also live in the lobby as well. So, I mean, just anything Underdog can do to give us more work to try to figure out much earlier than we anticipated, they are ready to do to serve your needs as the consumer. As always, if you want to support this show the best way that you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the bell and get notifications whenever we post new content. You can find, these shows, past injury shows. You can also find some of our podcasts that we've put in video form up on the YouTube channel as well. We have a goal to get to 5,000 subscribers by the end of the NBA season. We're at about 4,600 right now, so we appreciate your help in inching us towards that goal. If you're interested in supporting any of our paid premium content, you can check out establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more details on our NBA DFS packages or player props packages. The other way that you can support this programming and this free programming and keep it free is to feed that algorithm. You feed that algorithm by smashing that like button. It helps feed our families and allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your DFS lineups, your season-long lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button. I mean, early wedding gift for me, right? It's the easiest thing to do in the world. Just smash the like button. I'll be back in 2 weeks after a lot of time eating and enjoying myself. Nom, 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 nom. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Enjoy the All-Star break. The guys will be back next week in my place. Take care, everybody.